Nobody expected this. Max Verstappen is now facing perhaps the most uncertain phase of his career with Red Bull his first major season, without Christian Horner leading the way. This shift isn't just symbolic, it's shaking the entire foundation of the team. A lot of talk has been circulating that Verstappen might actually be behind this turning point, possibly pushing for better results and quicker progress. The bigger question is, will Red Bull be able to deliver what he's been asking for all this time? And if they fall short, is Verstappen already considering a switch to Mercedes starting in 2026? The relationship between Verstappen and Red Bull has grown increasingly complex. There are many unclear elements that need clarification before anyone can fully understand who's pulling the strings behind the scenes. What we can see right now, though, is that Horner's removal came at a critical moment, and it might not be a coincidence. Rumors suggest that performance concerns triggered this change. Now, there are two possible interpretations here. Either Red Bull believes Verstappen has already decided to leave, and they're preparing to rebuild without him, which feels like a long shot, or more likely, they're finally committing to give Verstappen what he wants, knowing that his presence has been crucial to their winning streak in recent years. And this is where things start to heat up. Verstappen, a four-time world champion, has reportedly been pushing for stronger car performance. But even after the technical changes, under the guidance of Pierre Watch and Enrico Balbo, the results haven't matched expectations. They've introduced several updates to the RB21, as well as tweaks to last year's car, but none of them have offered Verstappen the edge he needs. What's more troubling is that he had flagged these issues even during his dominant 2023 season, where he won 19 of 23 races. He had warned that if development continued on the same path, the success wouldn't last. And now, his prediction seems to be playing out. Things have taken a serious turn. Verstappen's camp has now made it clear that while they were informed in advance about Horner's dismissal by Red Bull management, their concern isn't about who runs the team, it's about how fast and how well the car performs. In other words, they don't care about the politics, they want results. According to a statement from his team, they were told about the decision, but emphasized that it's Red Bull's internal matter. Their focus remains firmly on achieving better race outcomes. So from their side, nothing changes. They're pushing forward, looking to return to the top, with or without Horner in the picture. Now, one major question still hangs in the air. What exactly does Verstappen need to feel confident in the team again? Sure, getting rid of Horner might ease some of the internal tension, but Verstappen was never someone who let drama affect his work. He's always demanded better responsiveness from the car, and that's where his priorities lie. Since the departure of Adrian Newey, things have been going downhill, and that's become difficult to ignore. The technical group, now led by Watch and Balbo, has promised improvement after improvement, but none of those changes seem to be translating to actual race performance. Even Red Bull's longtime advisor, Helmut Marko, admitted that their wind tunnel data isn't lining up with what they're seeing on the track. Sound familiar? It should. Mercedes dealt with the exact same problem not too long ago. But what did they do? They made serious internal changes, brought James Ellison back as technical director, and began to fix what was broken. That example alone may be the strongest argument Mercedes can make if they're hoping to bring Verstappen into their camp. It shows they're willing to act quickly and effectively when things start going wrong. That's the kind of reassurance any top driver would want. At the core of all this chaos is the sudden exit of Christian Horner, a figure who's been with Red Bull since the very beginning in 2005. Until recently, he held the title of the longest-serving team principal on the grid. So, seeing him removed now, especially after weathering multiple internal storms last year, feels far from random. In fact, during those turbulent months, not only did Horner hold his ground, but there were even whispers that his influence inside the team had grown. Yet strangely enough, that same period saw big names like Adrian Newey, Jonathan Wheatley, and Paul Monaghan heading for the door. Before all of that, Rob Marshall had already packed his bags and left for McLaren. And guess what? His impact there has been instantly noticeable. Now here's the twist. While Horner has always claimed that no single person is responsible for Red Bull's achievements, reality seems to be painting a different picture. Verstappen is fully aware of that. He's seen how much has changed and what's been lost. That's likely why he's now pushing so hard for consistency and results. And some are even saying that it was Verstappen who ultimately influenced the decision to cut Horner loose. A few months back, credible sources like Automotor on D-Sport reported that Verstappen had put forward an ultimatum: either reduce Horner's control significantly or risk losing him altogether. The shocking part, it looks like Red Bull actually listened, but even that might not be enough. Despite the shakeup, there's no guarantee Verstappen stays. The culture at Mercedes presents a completely different picture: more structure, fewer conflicting messages, and for a driver who wants stability more than anything right now, that could be extremely tempting. If Red Bull thinks removing Horner is enough to lock Verstappen in, they may be underestimating how much deeper this problem really runs. Lewis Hamilton has added his voice to this whole situation, offering some thoughts on what Verstappen might be considering. He understands what it feels like to be stuck in a car that doesn't respond the way a champion expects. Back when Mercedes introduced their controversial zero-pod design, Hamilton was one of the first to say it wasn't working. He didn't hide his frustration. He called it out openly, warning that the car wasn't capable of delivering wins. The team didn't act right away. They stuck with George Russell's feedback, which turned out to be the wrong move. Months later, Mercedes had to reverse course and make serious changes. This is where Hamilton's words hold weight. He knows the value of speaking up and pushing a team to listen. Talking about Verstappen potentially moving to Mercedes, Hamilton mentioned that Max did nothing wrong. He did what he had to do to stay competitive and win races. He even said that if someone asked him about Mercedes, he'd always vouch for them as a strong and passionate group. While joking about his old comment, calling Red Bull just an energy drink company, Hamilton now praises Mercedes for their dedication, their talented staff, and the environment they've built over the years. His message was simple: if Verstappen is thinking of changing teams, Mercedes could be a solid choice, but moving isn't just about picking a new car or changing uniforms. It has a ripple effect across the entire Formula One world. If Verstappen ends up signing with Mercedes, then someone has to step aside. And all signs point to George Russell being that person. Russell's current contract doesn't go beyond 2025, and the fact that Mercedes hasn't renewed it yet seems more deliberate than accidental. Toto Wolff, always thinking ahead, maybe keeping that door open on purpose. If Verstappen becomes available, having a spot ready makes all the difference. From that angle, it's clear Wolff is planning for every possible outcome, and that includes Verstappen in silver. If Verstappen is indeed in talks with Mercedes, as some sources have hinted recently, one thing is certain: he's not just looking for another fast car. What he truly wants is a team where he knows who's in charge, where decisions are consistent, and where internal chaos doesn't affect what happens on the track. That's something Red Bull is struggling with right now. While they do have strong names like Helmut Marko involved, the public messaging has been all over the place. One day, Marko says something. The next day, Horner, back when he was still around, would say something completely different. For a top-tier driver, that kind of confusion isn't just annoying. It's dangerous. Mercedes, on the other hand, seems to offer what Red Bull currently can't. Their chain of command is clear. At the end of the day, it's Toto Wolff who makes the decisions, and everyone in the team knows that. That clarity matters to someone like Verstappen, who's proven time and again that he performs best when the only thing he needs to think about is racing. With Red Bull losing key figures and their car development missing the mark, the big question now isn't just whether Verstappen will stay, it's whether he even sees a future they're worth staying for. The ball is now firmly in Red Bull's court. The remaining team leadership has a simple job, but not an easy one. Build a car that can consistently fight for wins, or at least stay within reach of the championship battle. Verstappen has already shown he can do extraordinary things. Even win titles with a car that isn't the fastest. That hasn't been done since the early 80s, when legends like Keke Rosberg and Nelson Piquet managed similar feats. But talent can only do so much when the structure around it is falling apart. There's also the shadow of Jos Verstappen, Max's father, who's been heavily vocal about the team's inner issues. Jos believed that as long as Horner was in charge, Red Bull would keep sinking into chaos. And judging by the current situation, that warning wasn't far off the mark. So now we're left wondering, can Red Bull still offer Verstappen the foundation he needs to go after more titles from 2026 and beyond? Or is this the beginning of one of the biggest shifts in F1 in recent years? With the summer break approaching, don't be surprised if we see more big moves shake up the grid. Now the stage is set. Max Verstappen has a choice to make: stay and fight, or walk away and begin a new chapter.